Ladies and gents, welcome back. For 2 years straight, we've been told to follow the science. And when we popped the hood for further inspection, facts and logic be damned, all we found was political science. There are so many taking to social media this morning to talk about this article from Rupa Subramanya on commonsense.news. Lots of people chiming in via Twitter. We have Leslyn Lewis here. The truth is coming out. The Liberals falsely claimed they were following the science as they used vaccine mandates to divide and punish Canadians, denying mobility rights and the ability to see loved ones. Trudeau and his ministers need to come clean with Canadians. This is the tweet put out by Rupa Subramanya as she published this article. Recently released court documents reveal the Trudeau's government's travel vaccine mandate was driven by politics and not science. Days before it kicked in, senior officials were scrambling to find a rationale. My latest for Barry Weiss at the commonsense.news. And it's a big one. So more people chiming in. Pierre Poiliev here chiming in on this one. Unbelievable. The Trudeau Liberals' unscientific and divisive COVID vaccine mandates are now clearly revealed to be the political theater we always knew it was. Government has shattered trust with the people. Canada Proud chiming in saying, thanks to two Canadians who are suing the Trudeau government, new court documents have revealed that there was absolutely no rationale for imposing travel mandates. And Rupa Subramanya again jumping in saying, the architect behind Canada's travel vaccine mandate heads a secretive government panel that called COVID Recovery. None of these folks on the panel are doctors, scientists, or epidemiologists. She herself has a bachelor degree in English literature. You cannot make this up, folks. You cannot make this up. So what's in this article? I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I'm going to give you guys a link in the description down below. You guys can read the whole thing for yourselves. But let's skim over the most poignant things here. So the article titled, Court Document Revealed Canada's Travel Ban Had No Scientific Basis. This is pretty damning for the government as it stands. We went through some really hard times because of these mandates. In the days leading up to the mandate, transportation officials were frantically looking for a rationale for it. They came up short. So they put a lot of Canadians in harm's way. So the article goes on to talk about how we got here, what was going on all the way from August 13th, 2021. Talking about how they're looking for a technocratic, guided by fact and reason. This government was trying to put this in place, these mandates and restrictions. But recently released court documents, which captured the decision making behind the travel mandate, indicate that, far from following the science, the Prime Minister and his cabinet were focused on politics. Canadians are hardly alone, as Common Sense recently reported. American public health agencies have also been politicized. Now we get into fast forward after all of this. A few men decide that they're going to sue. We have Carl Harrison, who is Harrison 58. He's and his partner Emma. They immigrated to Canada in 2009 from Britain. They have a bunch of businesses. They put together some very successful stuff, and the mandates definitely interfered in their lives and their livelihoods, as well as not being able to visit family over in England during this time because they refused the mandated vaccines, which goes against the Charter of Rights for Canadians, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Also, we have a second individual, the other plaintiff, Sean Rickard, whose father, also in Britain, suffered from late-stage Alzheimer's. Rickard, 55, lives in the town of Pickering, just outside of Toronto. He's also a small business owner, and they decided to sue independently of each other. And then, so in the fall of 2021, Rickard launched a GoFundMe to do battle with the government. In November, Harrison, who had learned of Rickard on social media, reached out to him. In December, they jointly filed suit. So they found each other on social media and decided to file lawsuit together in a joint suit. The plaintiffs about $186,000, of which Rickard had raised $121,000 on GoFundMe to file suit with the Canadian government. Now, the whole point of this case was to lift a shroud and cast a spotlight on the unscientific basis of the mandate. Among other things, the court documents indicate no one in the COVID recovery unit, including Jennifer Little, the Director General, had any formal education on epidemiology, medicine, or public health. Now, we've all been, just independent, normal people out there. As soon as our lives were affected by this, we took to the internet and we started getting consultation from all kinds of people who were actually qualified. There were lots of people who were actually qualified, giving their 2 cents out there. Very, very happy to get out there and talk about exactly their opinions on it. And we all heard those. It seems that the government didn't care to get the opinions of experts in the field. There were none of them were involved in that kind of education. Little, who has an undergraduate degree in literature from the University of Toronto, testified that there were 20 people in the unit when I'm going to have a hard time with this one, folks. Presvelos, I think I got that right, asked whether anyone in the unit had any professional experience in public health. She said there was one person, Monica St. Laurent. According to St. Laurent's LinkedIn profile, she appears to be a civil servant who briefly worked in Public Health Agency of Canada. St. Laurent is not a doctor, Little said. Reached on the phone, St. Laurent confirmed that she was a member of the COVID recovery. She referred all other questions to a government spokesperson, because we don't answer to the public, at least not without having a spokesperson between. Little suggested a senior official in the Prime Minister's cabinet, or possibly the Prime Minister himself, had ordered COVID recovery to impose the travel mandate. During cross-examination, Little told Presvelos repeatedly that discussions, in quotes, about the mandate had taken place at a, in quotes, senior and, in quotes, very senior levels, but she refused to say who had given her team the order to impose the travel mandate. I'm not at liberty to disclose anything that is subject to cabinet confidence, she said. We've heard this term before. We keep hearing it anytime that there needs to be scrutiny on what the government is doing. There seems to be this cabinet confidence issue that keeps coming into play with the Trudeau government. Anytime they need to give an actual demonstrable reason for what it is that they're doing, they say, well, we talked about it in our cabinet. And I'm sorry, what goes in cabinet stays in cabinet. It's more strict than Vegas, apparently. The term cabinet confidence is noteworthy because it refers to the Prime Minister's cabinet, meaning that Little could, sorry, I'm reading it as if Little is a word in the sentence. It's the name of the person, meaning that Little could not talk about who had directed the COVID recovery to impose a travel mandate because someone at the very highest levels of government were apparently behind it. And we know there are no doctors in the Trudeau cabinet. In the days leading up to the implementation of the travel mandate, transportation officials were frantically looking for a rationale for it. They came up short. It was made clear by email exchange in the latter half of in October 2021 between Aaron McCrory and Don Lumley Mylari, I'm just going to say McCrory and Mylari for short here. So McCrory is the Assistant Deputy Minister for Safety and Security in Transport Canada, the department that houses COVID recovery. Mylari is an official in the Public Health Agency of Canada. The email exchange, McCrory seems to be casting about for a credible rationale for the travel mandate. This was less than 2 weeks before the mandate was set to kick in. So this is 2 weeks before they're implementing travel mandates on the citizenry of Canada. They didn't have any rationale for it. They wanted this to take place. They didn't have any reasons for it. The cart's before the horse here, folks. We have a government that wants to impose mandates on their people and don't have reasons for it yet. They're scrambling for reasons to impose these draconian measures on their citizenry. So yeah, take what you want from that one. Here we are in quotes. To the extent that the updated data or that there are clear evidence for the safety benefit of vaccination on the users or other stakeholders of the transportation system, it would be helpful to assist Transport Canada supporting its measures, McCrory wrote. 4 days later, on October 22, McCrory emailed Mylari again. Our requirements come in on October 23rd, in just over a week, so need something fairly soon. On October 28th, Mylari replied to McCrory with a series of bullet points outlining the benefits and generally speaking of the COVID vaccine. She did not address McCrory's question about the transportation system, nothing that the Public Health Agency of Canada was updating its public health considerations with regard to vaccine mandates. 2 days later, on October 30th, the travel mandate took effect. Then, 8.5 months later, on June 14th, 2022, government officials announced that they would be suspending the mandate, although they made it clear that they could bring it back at any time. So the suspension is not getting rid of it. They're just holding off on it. Within days, the government lawyers filed a motion to seek to shut down Harris and Rickard's suit on the grounds that it was now moot. And Presvelos said to make sure that the public never saw the court documents. Since the case was still open and the court documents are unavailable to the public, while cases are open, shutting it down would have sharply reduced its likelihood of anyone seeing government officials' testimony. So on July 12th, Presvelos filed an additional damages motion arguing that his clients had suffered damages during the mandate. Neither Harrison nor Rickard had said they wanted money. The point was to make sure that the suit didn't go away and the court documents were made public. So the idea is, in this, they wanted to get rid of this lawsuit. They wanted to make it disappear. So because they suspended the mandates, they wanted to say, well, it's no longer applicable, so you can't sue us for it. They wanted to continue the suit, and normally, if something's no longer damaging, then you can no longer sue for it. But the whole point was to actually get the lawsuit, maybe get some precedents made, or what have you. But yeah, they really wanted this to go out, and they didn't want it to get squashed. They wanted those court documents to be made public. But even so, the inner workings of the COVID recovery unit and more generally, the Trudeau government's thinking around the travel mandate remain opaque. COVID recovery has no website, and its name appears almost nowhere in government records. There's a brief motion of the unit in the guidance document announcing that effective June 20th, the travel mandate would be suspended. The Trudeau government has claimed to follow the science on COVID, but that science is strangely different than it is everywhere else. Bruce Pardee, a law professor at Queen's University and former board member of the Conservative Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, said in an email, instead its policies are based on spite, divisiveness, and pure politics. COVID now serves as an excuse to punish the government's ideological enemies. Harrison and Rickard wanted to expose the truth behind the mandate, that it was driven by politics, not science. They believed they had a right to refuse the vaccine, about which they had come to have doubts. They said they were doing this for all Canadians, even those who thought they were wrong. What I have personally struggled with and have found to be most unconscionable and objectionable aspects of how this pandemic has been managed, Rickard said in his affidavit. It's unnecessarily hateful, vindictive, and divisive behavior that I have witnessed from our neighbors, friends, family members, colleagues, and our government. The words and actions of our government, which entrenched policies based on vaccine status without reflecting the risk of those unvaccinated, is far from warm, caring, and thoughtful Canada I remember living in. In September, a judge will decide whether to quash the lawsuit. So far, 16 government officials have testified. So there's still a chance we can keep this thing going and get more information, but we'll find out in September. Even though this kind of case almost never goes anywhere, there have been several court challenges to the mandates. All of them have been rejected. Harrison and Rickard, in a way, have already won. They have cast a spotlight on how the sausage is made. So now that we know what's under the hood, we know what's going on here. It may not matter. I find the idea of helplessness prevalent in Canada, Harrison told me. The idea of protesting doesn't come naturally here. There is a tendency for people to keep their head down, which I don't understand, and the government exploits that. Personally, I don't understand that either. Nothing made me more proud than to see those trucks fire up and head towards Ottawa when this was all going down, as people had their livelihoods taken from them, their rights taken from them, their ability to travel, their ability to go to work, depending on people's situation. So yeah, I was very proud to see so many people join the truckers and join in protest, and then those protests just have not stopped ever since. So this definitely brings us to a new level in Canada. We'll see where it goes from here. Sorry for the long video this morning. I really wanted to get this story out there the best that I could for a lot of people who just don't follow this on Twitter, don't follow these news agencies. We really wanted to get this story out there. So hopefully not too many people see the length of the video and don't click on it. Hopefully you get in there. So there'll only be one video this morning because of this. So unfortunate for that. Do us a favor though, hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscription. Maybe consider hitting that bell so you get notifications for when I go live. Anyway, we'll see you guys in the next one. Keep on trucking.